evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of TheCaliEffect, King of Games, and today you guys are watching the magnificence of Zaborg the Mega Monarch. This card is so awesome, but more about that a little later. We're going to be playing against Pendulum Magician, and Performer Pal Skull Crobat Joker is being summoned to search more additional Pendulum Magician cards, hopefully to set up some type of Pendulum Summon super board that Zaborg the Mega Monarch and the Monarch deck can break. Okay, Purple Poison Magician is going to be added from the deck to the hand, and hopefully we're looking at some type of Pendulum Summon play. Now, Duelist Alliance is going to be activated in response to Purple Poison to search Double Iris, and looks like Monarchs are already in trouble. Using Duelist Alliance to search the high scale is pivotal for the strategy, or the low scale, to be able to Pendulum Summon cards. So we're going to see an Astrograph Sorcerer and an Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon be summoned to hit the field, and looks like we're going to top deck the Domain, so we're going to activate Tenacity to go ahead and add Pantheism and get this ball rolling. Pantheism is going to send the Prime Monarch to the graveyard, which is pivotal for being able to tribute summon because it is a light card to summon itself by banishing a Monarch spell or trap card from your graveyard. So this time around, this is why you should play 3 copies of Escalation of the Monarchs. I tried to set up a bluff, like you're gonna either give me Return or you're gonna give me Stormforth. He actually picks the Return, and I'm like, shit, now I ain't really got nothing to deal with. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to play Escalation. Escalation would have did so much more work to the opponent at any given time. So we definitely have fixed that with 3 copies of Escalation. You'll see that in the deck profile. We're gonna summon Aether. Aether is going to summon Zaborg the Mega Monarch to the side of the field, and Ash Blossom is going to hit the return. So that's probably a pretty big reason why he chose to add the return, because he knew he could Ash Blossom it. Now we're going to set 1 card face down, which is the Bluff Return, and add Zaborg the Mega Monarch to our hand. If the card that we added was Escalation, we would have been able to tribute the Aether and wreck the opponent's entire extra deck, which would have been catastrophic on their turn, as well as being able to destroy cards, preventing them from doing much. My opponent is going to Pendulum Summon Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, and then takes it back, thinking that Domain was preventing him from special summoning from the extra deck. I had no idea what was going on at that time. He's going to tackle with both of his monsters, what could have potentially been game, until you guys realize that I had the Prime Monarch in the graveyard to protect me anyways, and being able to summon itself again. So really didn't matter right there. We're going to go ahead and activate Domain again and summon the Prime Monarch to our side of the field, make Zaborg 6, and now we're about to go in. Zaborg is going to destroy itself, and now since I tributed a light monster, I get to choose 8 monsters from his extra deck and send them to the graveyard. This includes face-up Pendulum monsters. This can completely ruin any Pendulum deck, and in return, I'm going to send 3 copies of Cypher and Omega, 3 copies of Elder Entity Entis, and 2 copies of Herald of Arclight. Now here is where the combos get extremely awesome. Entis' effect is going to activate, and I'm going to destroy both Time Graphs and the Time Pendulum spell card. Next, I'm going to add Cyber Angel Benton and Machine Angel Ritual, and unfortunately, what I did not read on Machine Angel Absolute Ritual is that the materials have to be exactly the amount. So please forgive me for the misplay. I would have added the other one had I played it, and then tributed the Courage from my hand to summon Benton, which sets up another play with Escalation of the Monarchs. What Escalation of the Monarchs does is allow me to tribute Benton for Courage, and now I can tribute Benton, or I can activate Benton, return Courage, and being able to destroy cards, draw cards, search cards is exactly what meta decks do. So this deck has a really good time at doing it, extremely simple and easy. Now here's probably where you guys are like, TheCaliEffect, did you just add Arc Lord Christia? And I'm like, yeah. Watch this. So what we are going to do is we are going to make Aether a level 6 monster. or not Aether, I'm sorry, we're going to make Erebus a level 6 monster. We're going to tribute the Mithra to summon the Erebus, and then it's going to send 2 cards from the deck to the graveyard that are Monarch cards. I'm going to be able to add for return, and then return his face down card to the deck. I don't even need to see it. Next, since we do have an abundance of fairies, we can manipulate Cyframe Lord Omega to special summon Christia, and that is game, fellas. I am excited to present to you guys the deck profile. Go ahead and give this video a like right now. Monarchs are an extraordinarily good deck. I think that Elder Entity Intis have taken this deck to the next level, and if it came out right after Monarchs were hit, it probably would have still been tier 1. I'm going to give it a blue rating, meaning that it's semi-competitive. I think I can definitely give Zodiacs the boot, and does have a hard time with True Draco, seeing that they don't rely on their extra deck. Let's get you guys into the cards that we play. The most important monster of the deck now is Zaborg the Mega Monarch. When it is tribute summon, you can destroy a monster on the field, and if it's a light monster, you can send that many monsters from the extra deck to the graveyard depending on the monster's level. You're going to use Zaborg's effect to target himself, and now you can send 8 cards from the extra deck on both players' decks. But the most important thing is if you used a light monster to tribute summon this card, you get to choose the cards that you send from your opponent's extra deck. This card is, I mean, it makes so many extra deck reliant people so salty, which is why it's so good. 3 copies of Erebus. This is a really good monarch for manipulating cards from the hand, field, or graveyard. Karaz is easily summoned through Aether, and seeing that we can recycle Aether inside of this deck, it is a really hot commodity inside of the deck. 1 copy of Arc Lord Christia, and y'all niggas is probably like, whoa, bro! You have Vanity's Fiend and Majesty's Fiend. They're very easy to summon. Well, they aren't searchable like Arc Lord Christia, and they're not free special summons like Arc Lord Christia. We'll talk a little bit about that later. 1 copy of Aether the Heavenly Monarch. We'd play more if they would allow us to play more. 2 copies of Cyber Angel Benton, and I know you guys are just like flipping out right now, like, why are you even thinking about that card? Well, seeing the fact that when it is tributed, it doesn't matter how it's tributed, we're able to add Aether or Arc Lord Christia from our deck to our hand. It's a pretty good card, especially seeing that how we played, it makes it extremely free. 2 copies of Mithra, really good card, especially allow us to recover a board when we use the board to destroy itself, and it gives us second tribute summon, so it's always good to have second tribute summons. 2 copies of Idea. Idea is really good for summoning your other Squire monsters to your side of the field. 3 copies of Eidos. Eidos allows us to gain an additional tribute summon. I think it's a very good standalone Squire, especially if we have Domain to make our 8/6. That's it for the monsters. For the spells, we have 3 copies of Domain. Now, Domain won't prevent the opponent from special summoning from the extra deck until we use Zaborg the Mega Monarch's effect, which is somewhat of a downside, but the upside to this card is that it does make all of our 8 Monarchs a 6. 3 copies of Return of the Monarchs. When we tribute summon, we can search Monarch cards, which is extremely vital to searching Zaborg the Mega Monarch from our deck to our hand. 3 copies of Tenacity to search any of our Monarch spells or traps. 2 copies of Machine Cyber Angel Ritual. I was actually running Machine Angel Absolute Ritual until I realized that they must exactly be the numbers to recurse from your deck, and I was like, this card is God, until I read it. Whatever. But Machine Angel Ritual allows us to tribute summon, or to ritual summon our Benton to our side of the field, which will later tribute for a tribute summon. We gain so many monsters, it's not even really a problem to send a Karaz or whatever to the graveyard. 1 copy of Pantheism. Really good card. Just really good. I wish we can run one more copy at least. 1 reinforcement of the army. 1 Monarch Stormforth, 1 for 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Foolish Burial Goods. All of these cards play a pivotal part, from reinforcement of the army to 1 for 1 being able to search Idea, Stormforth being able to tribute the opponent's cards, and then Goods and Foolish Burial being able to send cards that we need from our deck to our graveyard. That's it for the spells. For the traps, we run 3 copies of the Prime Monarch. In Monarch's Prime, the Prime Monarch was a good card to run, and we ran it in triplets because you would see it often, summon it often, discard it often, and tribute for it often. And then 3 copies of Escalation, because I think it's time to escalate the deck to the next level. Huh? But the most important thing about escalation that it allows us to tribute summon for Zaborg the Mega Monarch on our opponent's turn, gaining its effects and getting full utility out of Elder Entity Intis. That is it for the traps. Now for the extra deck, something that regular Monarch players aren't used to having. 3 copies of Elder Entity Intis. I know I've said this card probably 5 million times. The fact that before the video is actually how I figured out how to say it, I was like, Intis. Oh, interesting. I've been calling it Ints the whole time and nobody fucking corrected me. Thank you, YouTube. When it's sent to the graveyard, you can destroy cards on the field. So when you summon Zaborg, destroy itself, you send these 3 bad boys and then destroy 3 cards on the field. Herald of Arclight is also another amazing card to send to the graveyard with Zaborg. I hope you're sending your entire extra deck because it allows us to search our ritual cards for free. And then 3 copies of Cypher Lord Omega. You guys would have never guessed why we run Cypher Lord Omega. It's not for its first effect. It's not for its second effect. It's for its third effect. I'll give you guys a second to realize what the third effect is. What Cypher and Lord Omega does is allows us to shuffle cards in our graveyard back inside of our deck to add him into the extra deck. So you can add your Herald of Arclight, you can add your Elder Entity Intis, you can add, you know, fairy monsters so you can summon Arclord Christia easier. You can even add Aether because Aether fulfills those requirements. That's what's so great about this deck. And there isn't really any combos, but I can tell you the most what you want to go for, the thing you want to aim for on this deck is to be able to tribute summon for Zaborg the Mega Monarch, and you can do that a plethora of ways. Let's say hypothetically you've already tributed for Aether and you guys are looking for a free search because more often than not you have a way to free search another Monarch spell or trap card. What you want to do is add escalation, and on your opponent's turn activate escalation. You wait for them to set up that amazing board, that sexy board, and then you go, we're going to tribute summon for that, it's Zaborg. Now, the best thing about Zaborg is that normally when you summon a Monarch, it doesn't really do anything for you anyway. So him getting off the field doesn't really matter because you're going to be able to destroy 3 cards from your opponent's side of the field. You're going to be able to search 2 cards and then be able to recurse any 3 cards that you would like. Those 2 cards that you're going to be searching is the Machine, Angel Ritual, and the Benton, which will later be able to summon itself when you ritual summon. Then if you tribute it for a Monarch summon, I don't know, you can tribute it for another Erebus to really ruin your opponent's day. You can now add Arclord Christia from your deck to your hand. Now as we look into our graveyard, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 fairy monsters. So we're going to return these 2 with the Omegas, and now we can special summon the Arclord Christia for free. That's really what the deck is predicated on, being able to gain free searches, free special summons. You can even use the Omegas to return the Intisis just to gain your Zaborg monsters effect. But most importantly, the best thing about this deck is that it can disrupt the opponent's extra deck. By the time you summon your second Zaborg the Mega Monarch, your opponent won't have any extra deck cards to use, and that's very vital for strategies like Zodiac. I mean, imagine when you first summon your first Zaborg, you're going to send Trident, Broad Bull, and then from there, it's just cake, right? You're going to send, I guess, Millis, Radiant, what's that? Chaka 9, and you're gonna win. It's like, it's very unfair for decks like that, heavily reliant on the extra deck. Against ABC, you send 3 Buster Dragons. I mean, we can do this forever. As soon as you summon that Mega Zaborg, you instantly put your opponent at a disadvantage. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. If you would love to join the Patreon gang and support this channel, go ahead and do that. If you want to support the channel via PayPal gift, that's also a lovely option. But if you guys want to buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards from your favorite Yu-Gi tuber, you can either hit me up on Facebook, message me via Facebook, I guess. You can go through TCGPlayer or eBay. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.